As you may know, for years I've told people there are plenty of awesome American cars for under 10 grand, and in person, usually they just say, yeah, clearly not believing me and knowing they're gonna take out a 20K car loan instead the next week. This unfortunately tends to lead to my reaction involving a jar of tuna, smelling salts, and a live beehive.
I'm warning you!
But actually, there are plenty of great American cars under 10K for daily driving, and here are 7 of the best. Let's get into it. Let me know in the comments which of these is best or what cheap dailies I might have missed. Here's my info disclaimer, and lovingly striking the like and subscribe buttons on the backside if you enjoy is very much appreciated. I also think it's really helpful to point out this guy who gets it about buying used cars, even though I disagree it's hard to find a decent one for 10K. But with that out of the way, number 1 is the 3rd gen Ford Fusions and matching year Lincoln MKZs. These are probably the most common recommendation for the best cheap reliability after one other car here, and I've always kind of liked the way these look. They were offered with 5 4-cylinder engines, and out of those, apparently the hybrid ones are the most reliable, the 1.5 turbos are the least reliable, and the NA ones are good. Some also have an EcoBoost V6, but those are much less likely to be within this budget from what I saw. Believe it or not, some of the 1.6 liter versions even came with manual transmissions, which I had no clue about, and I couldn't find exact numbers on how many were built with 3 big boy pedals, but it seems like it was under 2,000. So, sorry, hopefully that didn't bring your hopes way up just to violently demolish them. Deals on these can be really great though. I even found a 2018 on Facebook with 80,000 miles and one owner who kept it in great shape for 10,000 bucks on the dot. Next up is the 98 to 2012
Ford Ranger
and the identical but rebadged Mazda B series. Long story short, these had a bunch of different engines in them through the years, but the 4-liter engines seem to be the most popular and the manuals are said to be more reliable than the autos, but most people agree Rangers are great overall, besides the MPG for a truck that small.
Oh no. I'm speaking in rhyme!
Most of the ones I found had higher miles, which could speak to the longevity, but it's definitely possible to find them within my mileage and price limit. Another option though would be the similar year F-150s. My dad had a 2000 F-150 that was awesome and lasted like 275,000 miles before he junked it, and we absolutely used that truck as a truck. While my dad was finding his next F-150, I'd bring our canoe over to my friend's house as some light work for it, even on the 7 cylinders it had left. May it rest in peace. And unfortunately, pieces. Now is the 3rd entry. We've got the 2000 to 06 and 07 to 14 Tahoes and Yukons with the 5.3 liter V8s. Obviously, these won't get great gas mileage, but if you have a short commute or otherwise need a second vehicle for towing, it might make more financial sense to get one of these instead of having a commuter car and a work vehicle. They also had 4.8 and 6 liter engines, but a ton of people say these 5.3s easily last over 250,000 miles, and I didn't see common major problems with the rest of the car. The trans or rust would probably become a problem before a maintained 5.3, but neither of those seem to happen prematurely. The older ones are more likely to be within the price range and are a more common recommendation, but I saw a good amount of newer ones for 10 grand too. One of my buddies had a 2010 Silverado 5.3, and even though he had to do some body work to it, I don't think he ever had mechanical or electrical issues, and you could say he babied it if babies were treated like they're made of titanium. It might be harder to find a Silverado under 10K because of what I'm now naming truck tax, but it could be doable. And speaking of truck taxes, next is the 08 to 11 and manual 12 to 19 Ford Focuses. Yeah, there's no correlation there. I talked about Focuses in my reliable 5K video, but those included the gen before these and could have limited the condition of the 2nd gen Focuses, so I thought I'd toss those in here anyway. Those are kinda like the golden cheap Focus child, but the 2012 and newer automatic transmissions are definitely, absolutely, indubitably, unequivocally not worth a single dollar. As soon as you've got a manual transmission though, it's as much of a peach as the 5-foot old lady at the store who calls you sweetie and asks you to help carry her bags because you're a strong young man. If I didn't like having enough extra space in the back of my car for hauling random housework stuff, I'd definitely consider getting one of these because the mileage seems great. As a regular car, they look decent and the reliability's there. After 2015, they were offered with 3-cylinder engines too, and I didn't see that those are that unreliable, but I'd play it safe and stick with the 2 liters. There are a ton of basic base trim manuals with low miles for cheap, but I even saw some STs around the $10,000 mark easily meeting all my requirements. Next up are cars I was hoping to avoid so I'm not repetitive, but they're way too popular, cheap, reliable cars to ignore. But because they've been in my other videos, I combined them, and it's cars with the 3800 V6 engine and Panther platform cars. The Panthers included Crown Vics, Grand Marquis, Town Cars, and Marauders, but those are usually too expensive. The 3800s include a boatload of GM cars, so as usual, I'll toss them on the screen. None of these are all that new, and they aren't all that spicy looking, but they've got a lot of reliability, are definitely cheap enough, and for between $5,000 and $10,000, you could get something in really great shape. If you want a regular V6, you've got 3800s. If you want a wine and supercharger,
well, he don't know talking good like me and you.
There are other 3800s. Or you could go for a Panther and eventually work some tasteful mods in so it chops more than a chef during happy hour. And since we're talking about chopping, next is the 08 to 12 Ford Escapes and matching Mazda Tributes and Mercury Mariners. Again, yeah, those have nothing to do with each other. For between 5 and 10 grand, you'd definitely be able to get one of these with probably 80,000 miles or less and newer than 2010, and as long as you kept up with regular maintenance and try to prevent rusting, it could keep ticking for a long time. Well, no, not tickin', but you know what I mean. I'd probably stick with the V6s over the 4-cylinders for overall reliability, and since the 6s used a timing chain instead of a timing belt like in the 4s. If even that sounds too small and low-key for you, you could also look for similar year Explorers and Mountaineers or bigger Expeditions. Or you could say screw it and find an even bigger Excursion with like 200,000 miles and a 5.4-liter V8 or a 6.8-liter V10, since I'd guess the diesels would be too expensive. Then when your friends are talking about their big 5-inch truck lift, you'll just sit back and be like,
I myself am sitting pretty on 43.
Now the next one is interesting, and it's the 04 to 7 Saturn Vue V6 and the 03 to 8 Pontiac Vibe. Beyond the fact that I cheated and yet again put two cars as one entry, these are also both basically or heavily foreign cars when it comes down to it. The Vues were offered with 5 engine options total, but the most liked one and the one that I'm sticking with here is the 3.5-liter V6 from Honda, which was paired to a Honda transmission starting in 04. The GM 4-cylinders seem fairly good too. You'll see the occasional, the 4-cylinders are the worst thing ever, without any reason why, but the Honda V6s are said to be a real gem. In 05, GM canceled all the CVT transmissions in those because of reliability issues, so if you even found one of those, avoid it, and a lot of people say the next gens from 08 and on have glass transmissions. The Vibe is pretty much a Toyota Matrix, and owners really love these, especially in a manual. The big downside I see to these Vues is they didn't seem common in the market around me, but that could differ by location. And if you're a real speed demon, they made GT trims of these, which made a spectacular, face-ripping, cheek-clenching 164 horsepower. American honorable mentions are S197 Mustangs and Charger RTs if they've been well maintained, and either of the two Hemi ticking issues are fixed if they come up. To my knowledge, both of these are reliable and can be a ton of fun, but aren't as practical as dailies if you care more about miles per gallon than smiles per gallon. Foreign honorable mentions are the typical Camry, Corolla, Civic, Accord, and RAV4, all the boring ones that are probably going up in price now because people talk about them so much. Let me know if I missed any good ones here and which is best, and spank the like button if you enjoyed to get 5 extra horsepower in the mail. As always, thank you very much for watching. It genuinely means a lot to me. I'll see you in the next one. Have a great day.